Despite my very green gingham suit, I'm absolutely passionate about fashion. You're probably questioning my fashion choices right now with my purple shoes. But this is so much more important, this conversation about fashion, than simply clothes. And we know that in what we see and what we hear affects the way we behave, and how we choose to dress, if we have that choice, enables us to be able to present who we are, to express who we are. So when we talk about inclusive fashion, it is not simply about the idea of somebody being able to put on the clothes, but to have the choice to be able to express who they are, something that so many people take for granted. So to have this conversation with me today, as I stand here, I'm leaning, for anybody else, a very, very quick audio description. 52-year-old white woman, blonde hair, big black glasses, green gingham suit, and purple boots. I am leaning against, I guess, the counter, talking to Samanta Bullock and Rama. And Rama, I can never pronounce your surname, so I'm going to admit it. Please.
It took me 3 years.
Thank you. I own what I can't do. Will you please pronounce your surname for me? GHEERAWO. Okay. So these two are, I could not imagine a better conversation, and they've given me questions that I'm supposed to ask, but all three of us are troublemakers, right? So we're just going to have a bit of a conversation amongst ourselves. So what I wanted to ask each of Samanta and Rama to do is explain a little bit briefly around the role that you have and what you do, and why you're so passionate about this issue. And then we're going to get into what's wrong and what can we do better. Okay, Samanta, do you want to start?
My name is Samanta Bullock. I'm going to describe myself. I'm a white woman with hair up, wearing a white suit with black top. I'm a wheelchair user, and I have the hair up and glasses. Not so stylish as Caroline.
I'm much more stylish.
Very, you know. Yeah, basically, I'm the co-owner of London Represents. That is one of the most inclusive and sustainable fashion shows we have in London. I'm the founder of Bullock Inclusion. That is a CIC where we create projects towards fashion and sport. And I'm passionate about fashion. All my background is sport. So I used to play tennis, wheelchair tennis from Brazil. So this is where my fashion meets the sport beat. And I have been working as a public speaker. I do some lectures at universities. Central St. Martin's is one of them, where we teach the students how to design universal and adaptive design. So it's one of the things that we take, that we understand that it's quite important.
And over to you, Rama.
Amazing. Great to be here. Who am I? Well, I am a dark-skinned male of Indian background. I can let you guess my age. I describe myself as kind of 70 to 80% dark chocolate. That gives you the tonality of my skin. I'm wearing the costume of a designer, the shirt of a designer that comes from the 70s, hair that looks like I've stuck my finger in an electrical socket, and trousers that look like they're permanently falling down. And yes, I am wearing a black cape. So design is something that it's a wonderful profession to be in, but it's a most frustrating profession to be in, because the world around us is designed. If you look around this room, there are two types of design that absolutely stand out. One is architecture, the other is fashion. And as Caroline says, fashion is more than just clothing. It's body signaling, it's body attitude, it's a representation of yourself, and yet there are so many barriers around it. So I work at the Royal College of Art, where I lead the Helen Hamlyn Centre for Design. Sorry, I said lead, I'm the director of the Helen Hamlyn Centre for Design. Too much empathy coming out here. And that exists for one thing and one thing only, that is to make the world more inclusive. So we use design as a vehicle for that. At the Royal College, we have a fashion department led by my friend and colleague Zoe Broach. And over the years, it's been incredible to see what she's done with that. We've had a lot of collaborations. And this term, inclusive fashion, has just ramped up. So over the previous years, we've got a few small names like Stella McCartney, Anya Hindmarch to come into the college and talk about the need for inclusive fashion. So live, love, breathe design, feel that fashion is one of those things we need to absolutely eject into the sky in a good way. Rocket ships.
No short of passion for fashion here. So what I want to do, so you're talking about getting people like Stella McCartney into your college. And Samanta, I want to come to you. What about getting your thinking into the classrooms and the lecture halls of young designers who do not experience disability or are completely unaware? What is the future of that? And what are you seeing now as somebody who is part of that education system?
Yeah, so I started a brand called SB Shop many years ago, and the idea of that brand was to collaborate with the designers, and so that I didn't have the collection myself. We didn't need to make the logistic and everything. Collaborating with the brands would be much easier in the way that in terms of quantity. So the brands, they would need only make like 2, 3, 5% of their whole collection adaptive, but for the disabled people perspective, we would find something for ourselves, from shoes to jackets to dresses and everything. So this was the idea. And I saw how hard it was to enter inside of an established brand and make them understand about inclusion. Okay, was very hard, was very time consuming to educate them, to take them to a journey. When I would start to talk with a brand, they would say, I don't have any consumer with a disability. It was like, okay, you might have, you might don't know, and it still is a big slice of the cake there for you to tackle that you are not approaching. So was really time in and time in to teach them, and then I realized that even that we need, and I'm still do that, work with the brands, established brands, is to educate the future brands. There would be much less effort because work with the universities, they are the future brands. They are the ones that are going to come. And if they get that from their heart, from the start, is what we need, is when they come, sure that we are talking about clothes here, yes, and so Martins is a university where is the fashion. But when the students, they come out, they also know how to look after all the types of bodies, all the types of positions. You're in the sitting position, you're in the standing position and everything. So this was the why I thought was much easier to start with the education process on their beginning. And sure that we are talking, like I said, with fashion and the clothes, but when a student get out and there they want to have their own brand, they need to know the physical access, they need to know their marketing, they need to know everything. So we are talking about only the clothes, but the whole system needs to be inclusive. The whole universities, they need to know how to talk about disability in all the courses that they are going to introduce at each university that is.
Because absolutely, it's not just about the clothes, it's can I shop online, can I get into a shop and see what that I need? So it's really catching people just at the beginning of that career. And Rama, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, the idea of going in and making this is not niche, this concept. It's about designing in inclusivity for everyone at the beginning. So what's your thinking?
Absolutely. I think we're doing a mischief here in terms of education. Absolutely, 100%. I cannot think of many universities, certainly in the design world, that will teach disability inclusion, or inclusivity. And why I say we're doing a mischief is, so I said Stella McCartney for a bit of attention. grabbing. It's a bit like my haircut. But what was really interesting in that session was the 4 or 5 students and graduates who presented their work. And it was from a lived experience of disability. There was one person she was one of a set of twins. And she had a real scoliosis. There were people who were excluded by gender, non-binary, or age, or ability. And their work was incredible. So when I look at the ambition of their work, when I look at what students want, they don't want a hero themselves, they want to hero the project. And are we, as educators, setting up that platform, that stream? Are we introducing them to the world of ability? Because most of us, 8 billion of us on this planet, are experiencing challenges with ability, and we're not addressing that. So I'm absolutely vehement about that, really want to change that.
Can I say one thing? We just had the London Represents fashion show this Saturday. We are also in a documentary that was launched with the Channel 4 on Monday. So this is a big thing that is coming, and you see how much we work to this. But on this specific fashion show Saturday, we had the students showing their designs in the catwalk. And we are inside of London Fashion Week. And I couldn't describe how happy they were. And there we had 10 designers, 10 models, and the groups was 4 groups. Each group was 12 to 16 groups, so it was a lot of designers involved, a lot of students involved. But what I'm saying is the way we get them through their heart, the emotion and everything, they are the future allies. They are the ones that, what's the chance of a lot of them from there start their own brand, thinking about disability, think about inclusion, because it's not only about disability, it's about inclusion as in general. So it was beautiful,
A quick question for you. So when you're talking about people training to become fashion designers, the places to where they train, are they welcoming of? Like, are they actively going out and seeking somebody with lived experience to come in and to be part of that design community? Or is there still a barrier for that as well?
Yeah. It's a massive barrier. And I can mention a few universities, St. Martin's, Edinburgh University, EFA in France, IED in Brazil. We have, I'm not going to say that Parsons, it has few universities around the world that they are open the way and make the difference. But it's hard when we start to talk about inclusion at the universities, because it's not many universities that are doing inclusion, do you know what I mean? Right. So first of all, we need to get the universities to be on board. And there, on my point of view, when I was talking about the questions, was like how we see the future. And it's like we could have like 3 ways to see that. We could enforce the universities to talk about diversity. So this could be through law to the government, say like you must teach the students to oblige them to learn about difference. Or we could do nothing and just wait and say like, oh, this is something that is gradual, is going to come at some point and everything. And the way I think that is the way I operate, is to be allies. So you start to get inside of universities, give talks, get them on board, get the students. I start mentoring some students, be modeling for them, and you become this ally, and there you are inside, and there is like, oh, there is a space. There you start or to teach, and there you start to get them to the fashion shows, and But it's hard for you to talk about the curriculum, to do everything if the university is not there,
And Rama, how can we do that? I mean, how do you see creating that systemic change? I mean, is this a forcing of a university, or is it a bit of both? How do we see that happening? Like you say, there's so many things, but like seriously, designing and inclusion, that isn't just a thing. I mean, that should be vital from the beginning.
Yeah, it's by any means possible. And I I believe sometimes, you know, you have to resort to positive blackmail and jealousy. So quite often if we do a project,
Yeah.
well, blackmail's probably a bit strong, but
Well.
if we do a project and, you know, true story, we did a project with a fashion house and we went to another one and said, we did this, they did this, what are you going to do? And they signed up. So I think the serious point there is by example.
Yeah.
Is you do the work, you kind of live and breathe the work, you know, the Gandhian statement of you be the change. But the really big thing is, you know, we're creating all of these seeds, but we haven't tilled the field. So the industry is a whole nother point of view. Like you can sit in classrooms and, you know, classrooms around the world working with fashion departments where the tutors and the students really want to do something different. They want to see fashion as more than a kind of throwaway word. You know, if something is fashionable, it means that it will last a season and is hugely expensive. So it's a very bad adjective, but turning it into a great noun and a great verb, the ambition is there. But where do these things land? So setting up those exemplars, getting people, you know, we're here sitting in the UN talking about fashion and education. If each of you in this room talk to 5 other people, it suddenly swells into a movement. So the other thing I was going to add, I love your list, Samanta. The other thing I was going to add is you start a movement. So our center, the Center for Helen Hamlyn Center for Design in 1994 defined the term inclusive design, and that suddenly became a bit of a movement. So now, you know, it took 31 years, so it may, you know, you have to be in for the long haul. You know, you have to bring a packed lunch with you. But now it's written into law, into policy, into intentionality, and industry is taking note of it.
Okay, listen, I'm sure that people, would you guys like to ask a question to both Samanta and Rama? Is there anybody who'd like to ask a question? I have questions, but does anybody want, and this is a safe space, right? Anybody can ask anything. Now remember, I'm visually impaired and registered blind, so I can't see you. So if anybody wants to ask, oh, well, you see, there we go. I bet you that's Jonathan, is it? Jonathan Kaufman, off you go.
All right. So this is somewhat of a question and a thought. So I'm going to bring you back 20 years ago when I was doing my PhD, starting to do my PhD. I was working with Alexander McQueen. And at the time, he was interested in bringing models who were amputees. And this was the first that I had seen about inclusive design, or even thinking about it. And I was looking at this question. So here's the question I'm going to ask 20 years later. The barriers of inclusive design, if you had to sort of ask, to say to me, what are the 3 elements that are the points of tension that we as a community have to deal with today to take the step forward?
Which is moving it from the idea simply of
yes,
niche
to actualizing
into scalable mainstream. Samanta, what do you think?
Okay, so I have a theory, you know, and the name is universal design and adaptability. So the universal design is something that is easy to implement because it's minor change that everyone is going to suit most of the population, yeah? When you talk about adaptability, it's something that's very specific. And as something as one fits all is something that doesn't exist, you know, it's very hard to scale. When you think about scalability, that's what the brands want. Yeah, they want to sell. It's like, how can you make something for someone that has dwarfism at the same time a plus size? It's not going to work. And there we come for numbers. And the minimum is what we have been talking forever, you know, like we can't have the minimum as you go to a factory and ask to make 1,000 of something that you know that you don't have 1,000 that to sell, you know, that you are a niche. You have someone that's amputee above the knee, you have someone that's amputee under the knee, from the left leg, that the same person can be size small, medium, large, could be a man, could be a woman. It's very hard. The difference is very complicated to scale that. So the brands and everyone, they need to understand that the minimum needs to be the minimum. And as we talk about bespoke pieces, for example, is something that Uniqlo they are doing. You can go there, buy something, they can adapt that for you. And then they do that for free, because if you buy something and you're asking someone to adapt that, it's going to be more costly,
more expensive, yeah.
and it's going to take more time. So, okay, you can think about bespoke, we can think about universal design, and you can think that someone that really needs something adaptive, that needs to be custom made. How we can make this custom made with the minimum of the minimum, but at the same time not costing the customer money, but the company would be able to adjust and make these changes in case that someone needs, and that they would do that fast.
Well, if they can do that with furniture with IKEA, they definitely can do this with fashion.
Of course.
Now, I want you to think about 2 seconds. I'm going to ask you both for the magic ingredient, how we can scale up and really ensure that the education system, both of you, is what is the magic ingredient you both think that we're going to need to make sure when we come back here 5 years later, we're not having the same conversation. Before I do that, Rama, I want to come to you and say, you see, we've all seen the front cover of Vogue, right? So we've seen what it looks like things are changing. But is fashion actually, is the change deep, and is it coming fast enough, or is it worse than other design industries? Just can you give us the honest truth there before we go for the magic ingredient?
So it's, absolute honesty here. I took an oath before I came in the building. The simple answer is yes, it is behind. Oh, sorry. So I said I took the honesty oath before I came into the UN building, so I have to speak the truth. And the simple answer is yes. Fashion is lagging behind. Product design, UX design. Even if you look at the AI design conversation, the room was filled. Fewer people here for fashion. That's not a comment on anything other than focus and attention. So I think what we have to do there is step up that time lag. Ironically, the other thing that's lagging behind is architecture.
Yes.
So when we look at fashion and architecture, the two things most visible in this room, they're lagging behind.
And can I just say, AI and fashion, and I know we've got 1 more minute, so you're just going to give me 1 more minute. I want a magic ingredient from Samanta and from Rama about how we can change this. You literally get 30 seconds, or she will pull me off the stage. Go first, Samanta.
I'm going to say is hard work. It's hard work and smart work. So we need allies. The fashion industry needs allies. We need to be the allies that they can count on us. We can come with them and support, because a lot of them, they want to start, they are scared.
Thank you. Rama, last word to you.
Really simple. We need better connectivity, more connection. We need more heart. We need more empathy, more compassion. And it boils down to one thing. We need more love. Less power and more love.
Well, thank you to Rama and Samanta. A huge round of applause. Thank you. The next time it's going to be an hour-long discussion. Thank you so much, guys. Really, thank you. I did really well.